On Thursday, the actor walked out of the courtroom after prosecutors accused him of lying about pulling the trigger on the gun. Shortly after, a crime scene technician testified that they found live ammunition mixed in with the dummy rounds on set. Tre Lovell is an entertainment attorney, and he joins us now from Los Angeles. So it's been a busy day in court. Break all this down for us if you can. Why is the defense asking to have this dismissed, and how strong is their argument?
Yeah, so what happened is supposedly there was some evidence of how the round could have gotten on set after the Gutierrez trial, and the prosecution never tendered it over to the defense. So the defense is saying, hey, we never got a chance to look at this evidence. This goes to one of the major issues of how that bullet got on set. Had we known, had we received the information, we could have strategized differently. Maybe we'd have prepared the case differently. And so it's a meritful motion, pretty compelling, but I don't think it's going to rise to the level of actually getting dismissed. Because one of the issues is, how the live round got on set is important, but the cornerstone for Baldwin is his conduct that led to the shooting. And that's really, central for this case against him. Yeah,
as we saw, Alec Baldwin left the courtroom during that testimony. As an attorney, what do you do if your client does that? How do jurors look at that?
Well, you always want your client to be on his best behavior, not do anything abrupt like that. And so generally, I wouldn't want him to leave at that moment. But you can't control your client all the time. You want your client to be sitting there, likable, peaceful, not making, faces, acting like a professional, because you want some sympathy. So generally, that's what you want your client to do. You instruct him to do that. If something big happens in court, you tell him not to give us a big reaction. You want it stoic. But generally, you don't want him getting up and walking out of the courtroom in the middle of arguments. It just doesn't look good.
What do prosecutors have to prove here to get a conviction?
So prosecutors are going to show any using a gun, it's in or on the road, you have to exercise safety, which means you never point at anybody. You certainly don't pull the trigger while pointing at anybody. You don't wave it around. Right before you can use it, you check it. So they're going to try to show that he was negligent and or reckless, depending on the count, in terms of how he used the gun. And had he exercised safety, like every person using a gun should, Ms. Hutchins wouldn't have been dead.
And in terms of the defense, obviously we know that the burden of proof is on the prosecution. They just need to convince one juror of reasonable doubt. How will they try and do that?
So the key to the defense is really showing the difference between the real world and the movie world. And in the movie world, it's a collection of duties and obligations. Everybody on set has their own responsibility. Actors act, directors direct, prop masters are in charge of the props, and armors are in charge of gun and set safety. And you have to leave those responsibilities with the designated person. Once people start doing their own jobs, it only results in chaos. So when it comes to set safety, it's absolutely essential that the armorer be the expert on set and be the one to determine whether or not a gun is safe. What happens is if all of a sudden you start having the actor have that duty, now you're putting the expertise into a non-expert. And this is when things become more dangerous. For example, if the armorer gives the gun to somebody and they check it themselves and maybe they manipulate it, now it's got to go back to the armorer to make sure they didn't do anything wrong. And oftentimes, as actors, they don't know the difference between a dummy bullet and a real bullet. And we don't want them exercising their own discretion and their own judgment that isn't an expert. So the defense really has to elucidate that. It is different in the movie world. Mm-hmm. Safety is determined before the actor.
Tre Lovell, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.